My name's Aaron Barlow. I am 27, and I am joining the military soon. And I guess I'll start with my story. But to begin that story, it's pretty interesting because I was in the military before, and I enlisted in 2014. And it was April 14th, 2014. I shipped to Fort Benning, and Fort Benning was interesting. That was when it was males only. It was rough and gritty. I enjoyed it. I got promoted at the end of basic training. Also, I was a PV2, E2, and I got promoted to private first class. And there was like about 7 to 10 other people that did in the whole company, and I was the one. And I shot expert. I did really great and everything. Pretty much max PT score. I was a couple short on the I think the sit-ups. But I mean, that's a little irrelevant. Long story short, I went to AIT. I was a helicopter mechanic at Fort Eustis, and towards the end, that's kind of when a lot went wrong in my life. I quote my favorite pastor, Michael Todd, saying that he is hot. It is called humble, open, and transparent. So, I'm not really afraid to, share, the details about my life. There's a lot going on. My step-grandmother that, pretty much was my main grandmother growing up in life, she died of cancer. And then my actual grandfather, not related to her, committed suicide. And being with that, I had a girlfriend at the time that I'm no longer with. And no hate towards her, but there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of pressure from her to get out, and we had a pregnancy scare, things like that. And then I don't know, I feel like at the time God was telling me to get out, and I pretty much went the route of mental health to get out. And that's really, if you're one of them guys that just want out, just be careful when you do that, because it's just one of them things that it's hard to get that erased. It's hard to get that, expunged and all that kind of stuff off of your record, because I tried and I wasn't very successful, but here I am enlisting. So at that time, I don't know how about old I was, about 20, 23 or something. I got out. I thought, it was the right thing to do, and blah, 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 and there was a lot going on. I pretty much just needed to be home. So they withdrawed me and discharged me with an honorable discharge. They gave me that because I was a great soldier. I was top of my AIT class too. But, it was, they labeled me with a personality disorder. And I didn't really agree with that, but at the time I'd even realized that's what they labeled me with, and I just didn't agree with it because I don't have a personality disorder. I was just needed to be home at the time, pretty much. And the out processing, took a few weeks, and I got out. And I went home, and it was nice just because when you first get out, you're back to civilian life. You don't gotta shave. You can do whatever you want. And I actually shaved recently, but I have a beard. I usually have a beard. I just got used to shaving, again and stuff. But, it was relaxing, but I pretty much bounced around from a couple jobs, and then I went back to college. And what attracted me to college is it was right downtown in Pittsburgh, PA. That's where I'm from and live. And I was able to go back and run track. And for some of you that know me, I'm a track star. I'm a sprinter. That's what I love. I love running. I grew up, being an athlete, and I played football and basketball and stuff, but track, man, I really excelled. So I got a scholarship there, so I thought, this is meant to be, and all that stuff. Yeah, so I was doing good. I met some girl there, another girl, and that might be another video for another day, but I don't want to put everything on a relationship on Front Street like Will and Jada right now. But that was I was with her pretty much my whole college career, and that was just a big mess in itself. But that's really not the point. So I graduated actually this last spring. I graduated, and yeah, I got a bachelor's in sports arts and entertainment management, and it's a really good degree. It's facility management, business, marketing. You can be an agent. There's a lot going on with it, and I really enjoyed it. Um, but my girlfriend at the time, who I'm actually no longer with, she is a law student, and she graduated and wanted to go to San Francisco for law. So um, at the time, which this was last fall, just this last fall, she wanted to move there. But I mean, I guess I did want to move with her, but there was something else going on in my life, which is that's a whole nother video itself. But pretty much, I was being charged with a misdemeanor. It was honestly the big misunderstanding. The two-sentence story. Some kid was running across the street apparently when I was going to class, and I did, there was oncoming traffic, and he sprinted across the street, so I slammed on my brakes right now. But I slammed on my brakes, and he slid into the side of like my driver's side door, and like put his hands like on my hood, and that's it. Like it was raining, he slid into my car, and then I stopped, and I looked, and I'm like, oh my god, and then he just ran, took off. I didn't see him after that. I just looked behind, and he's gone. So I'm just like, I sat there, and I'm like, damn. Stupid kid, damn, watch what you're doing. There wasn't a, mother with him. There wasn't anyone. He looked about 8 years old. And so I just continue on, go to school. And when I pull out to school, I get out of my car. And two police officers immediately grab me in the arm and is like, by the way, this ain't two sentences. But anyways, grab me on the arm, unzip my jacket, like, yeah, that's him, blah, blah, blah. They pull up with like 6 more cop cars. It was just a mess, and I'm like, what's going on? So I pretty much admit that I was, they say don't incriminate yourself, but I'm like, yeah, that was me. I mean, it wasn't really anything. But he said that the lady behind me reported a hit and run. I'm like, really? That's just, that was just crazy. So I did an overnight in jail, and that went on for about a year. Just all the hearings, the mother didn't show up. The mother wasn't even on scene. She wasn't really a good mother. And long story short, the judge kind of felt sorry for me and downgraded it to a summary charge, which is disorderly conduct. So I was trying to enlist, and then when that happened, I'm like, crap, like I'm not going to be able to get in, along with the personality disorder thing. It was just a big mess. I've really been through a lot over the last 5-8 years, and yeah, I mean, that was just crazy itself. So my probation ended in February, and I'm like, okay, let me try to enlist. And at first I was going Air Force, back to Air Force, or trying Air Force, because my brother's Air Force. And he said it was real easy, and, this and that and whatnot. So I talked to the recruiter in Pittsburgh before my probation even gets over, and he was nice, and he was actually seemed real helpful and guided me along, throughout the whole time I was on probation. But, long story short with that, he wasn't really replying much towards the end, and it just kind of seemed weird. And, like, at the last second, he was like, did someone run your thing before? And I'm like, no. And then he was like, well, it says that they did. And then he was like mad, like another recruiter from the past, which I talked to a recruiter in the past, but I didn't know he ran anything officially. I'm like, so I said no. And then he all of a sudden say, oh, you don't qualify for the Air Force. And I'm like, I mean, I looked it up. Like, I know what I'm talking about too. My brother's in the Air Force. Like, with the waiver, I can qualify. So, being said that, there's going to be recruiters that, whether it's whatever branch, they don't want to entertain certain waivers. He just might have just not really wanted to go through it, because I needed a moral waiver, and I also needed the mental health waiver, which that is really rare. That really don't get accepted that much. But given my circumstance, it was just one of them cases where it just had to be reviewed and going from there. So pretty much I walked into the branch here, which because I had to move out to my mom's actually, because my lease ran up in Pittsburgh. But I went in to talk to the Air Force recruiter here, and the Army recruiter answered, and he was real forward. He said, he's like, oh, you looking for the Air Force? And then I'm like, yeah. And he was like, what about Army? And I'm like, well, and he kind of just like butted in like, what's wrong with Army? Why can't you, And I'm like, I mean, shoot, I'll take your card, blah, blah, blah. And I went home that night and I was thinking, and I'm like, I mean, why not? I kind of know their customs and, certain things like that. They already have my files and things like that. So I started texting him, and he was real forward, real straightforward and to the point, and was like, yeah, I mean, we can push a waiver. And with my reentry code, which was like a 3A or something, there's reentry codes when you get discharged, to see if you need a waiver when you get back in. And mine was I was disqualified from every branch of the military with my discharge, but you can get back in with a waiver, pretty much every branch too, even the Air Force. But so he said it would be pretty easy once my probation's up, but he said I would need clearance from a psychologist. So, I called my insurance and they linked me up with a psychologist up in Erie, which is about 30 minutes away. And I talked with him, and he was real thorough. He didn't even just counsel me. He gave me a neuropsychological evaluation, which is even more detailed, the recruiter said, because he tested my cognitive skills, my memory. It was a whole bunch of stuff. He was saying, like he would name like 20 fruits and have me repeat them backwards, and there was just a whole bunch of stuff, that kind of stuff. Say a sentence and try to repeat the sentence multiple times. And I took, like a personality test and this and that. And he gave me a thorough evaluation and said, he says that I don't have personality disorder. And he said, based on the Army documents when I got discharged before, that it was kind of inconclusive and confusing, and they kind of misdiagnosed me. And when I went back and read the Army documents, he was saying I was losing sleep, I wasn't eating, and things like that. And I'm like, that's not even true. When I was getting out, I literally just told the doctor, like, in the Army, I just need to be home. Like, I kept telling him, like, I don't know if this is for me, and this and that, which I'll get to why I want to join again in a second. But I was like, none of this is true. And so he's right. So I had to write a statement saying I disagree with it, blah, blah, blah. And the psychologist, recommended that I'm fit for service. So the commander at the recruiting station was all on board too. And he was like, this actually looks really good. And the moral waiver, he said, shouldn't be a big deal because it's disorderly conduct. And based on my story, it's kind of just bogus. So yeah, I mean, we went ahead and launched the waiver, but that's where it got messy. MEPS, which is Military Entering Processing Station, where you go to get your physical and everything. So we submit the waiver to them, and then they wanted everything. They wanted all my AIT records, everything from most of the stuff from basic and pretty much everything, which is understandable. But so I called Fort Eustis, and this is during when the pandemic started, like really took off, back in March, where everyone took it serious. And they were closed half of the time, and I kept calling, and this lady said she would mail them out on a disc. And I asked, because my brother actually is stationed in Fort Langley, Eustis, the Joint Base down in Virginia, and I was like, "Can you pick them up?" No, and all that stuff, and so pretty much she could just mail it. That was really the only thing, and so I had to just wait on that. And I swear I called every few days to a week. I mean, because I don't care. I want to, you bug them if you have to when you're going through things like this, because it's your life, and you don't want to be terribly annoying and get disrespectful, but these people are always dealing with, throughout this process, just different people and people that are already in, and people in my case too, and they forget and things like that. So I kept calling, and she said, oh, I'll mail them out tomorrow. And then I'll call like 2 days later, oh no, I had to do some other things, I'll mail them out the next day or something. And then the one time she said she mailed them, and I'm like, really? And this was after like 5 times calling. It was like a month. And yeah, it was just a big mess. And she said she mailed it, and then it was like almost a week, and then I call, and she said, yeah, I mailed it like 4 or 5 days ago. You should get it. And then when I got it, like I got it like that next day. She overnighted it when I called her, and I got it in one day. She overnighted it that same day that I called. So she was lying the whole time. And it's, I get you're busy, but it's like, come on. Like, don't lie. I mean, there's no point in doing that. I'm just asking. I just want to know. So I got the AIT documents, which were good, and I submitted them to MEPS, and that just took a lot of time too. They responded with, I think, a couple other things. They wanted any pharmacy records. I told them there's no pharmacy. Like, I'd never been to a pharmacy. I don't have a home pharmacy. I've never got pills at all. So they really wanted me to go to a local pharmacy. I'd try Giant Eagle and Rite Aid and get a general statement saying that they did not prescribe me medicine. And I'm just like, okay. But sometimes they just need something on paper to just kind of cover themselves when they accept me. And yeah, so Rite Aid didn't even print out anything. Some lady felt bad because I just explained to her my situation and wrote on a piece of paper, he's never got medication, wrote her name, and she's a nurse, and signed it. And I gave it to my recruiter, and he was like, good enough, we'll try it. And long story short, they accepted it. But the MEPS doctor was being weird. He was questioning everything. It took like another month or two, because now I'm putting this video. It's right now as I speak, it's mid-July. So, yeah, it was just a long process. I thought I was going to be in basic already. I thought I was going to be halfway through basic by now, but it's all in God's plan. And I really think he brought me through this because just to get closer to him and not lose myself and lose my faith the last time I was in, because I'll upload further videos, but the journey I took to get here, it's just, and that's just like the short story of it. And it's just been a lot. God's really brought me through it, and I've got so close to him, and I see certain things, and I really feel like I'm called to join the Army again and to help just be a leader, and help people, not so much be like a chaplain and minister deeply to people, which, I would too if they're interested in things like that, but more of just be a light for him and be a beacon of light, to show people that there's hope, and for like veterans and people that are just lost and can't find themselves in their calling and things like that. I feel like I could be an example. And yeah, so the MEPS took a while, and this guy was questioning everything, and he pretty much they relieved him actually. They just got a new doctor, and the woman came in, a different doctor, and she's just like, looks good to me, let's run it. And it was accepted in like one day, the same day. And my recruiter texted me and was like, we made it past MEPS, and oh man, the relief I felt. My mom started crying, and it was just great because I was asking different recruiters, different people in the Army. None of them really said that like a mental health thing, like personality, like it's not really common to get accepted with everything in my situation. But my stepdad was in the Army for 22 years. He was a drill sergeant and all that, and he wrote a real nice letter of recommendation, and I had everything I needed, and I did it quick. I am in college, maybe they look at that too, but I really had everything that I needed. So I feel like with all that, they gave me an honorable discharge, and everything that I said, it just kind of, they looked at it like, come on, like he just needed to be home at the time, kind of how my story said, and all that, and just accepted me. And that was really last week, and it was great because I worked so hard to get here. And just, like I said, with my girlfriend moving, and I had to stay here for court. And it's just the way God works. I'm telling you, people think it's the devil, it's the enemy, it's bad karma. But sometimes, like, the positive things, God, the person you look up to when you look at the sky, he brings you through these things. And he, that's just really it. He brings you through it and teaches you lessons throughout it, and, sees if you're going to endure it. And I feel like I have endured. and yeah, I mean, I'm excited. So, so now I'm getting the Army has to approve me, but my recruiter says that there's a good chance like they're gonna approve me, but it just might take a little time. I mean, maybe just like a week though, honestly. But it's funny because the MEPS doctor forgot to upload the documents when they sent him up to the Army. The I think it's the brigade commander or something, or the USAREC brigade commander or something like that that's approving it or denying it, and she forgot to upload the documents. So the MEPS people, she accepted it and all this, but she uploaded like one document, and then the Army got it and was like, "What is this?" So he could have potentially accepted me already. So it's just like, really. But that's why I don't try to complain, because it's in God's timing, and people don't think of what He's doing in the background to, to set up your life. He could be handling a situation with someone I'm going to meet down the road, and it's taking time, so He's delaying mine a little bit and teaching me more patience, or preparing my wife for me to meet her in the Army. It's just the things He does on the sidelines. You just don't really know. And I try to get that perspective because, it's not good to just complain and doubt, but you just really don't know what He's doing.